Hi, everyone. Glad to see you can join us. We'll get started in a few seconds here while we wait for others to join. So hello, and welcome to today's webinar on Docker Business. My name is Siemer. I'm part of the product marketing team here at Docker. And joining me from across the virtual pond is Peter McKee, our head of DevRel and community. So today we'll be walking you through our latest Docker Business offering, including what it is, what it includes, and how Docker Business will not only continue to empower your developers to build amazing apps at scale, but provide those enterprise-grade management and security controls you've come to expect as well. So in the later half of this presentation, Peter will demo image access management, which is a powerful feature exclusive to Docker Business customers. We'll also reserve a few minutes at the end of this presentation to answer some of your lingering questions. So feel free to add those in the chat box below, and we'll try to follow up accordingly. So for those of you who are new to us, Docker provides an app dev platform with tools and services for developers to build modern applications. We are extremely focused on making developers more productive so that they can collaborate and spend more time on innovation and less time on those tedious things with limited value. In fact, we are used by over 13 million developers every day doing exactly that. We are ranked the #1 most wanted dev tool and the #2 most loved dev tool according to the latest Stack Overflow survey. We have over 7 million applications on Docker Hub, and we have over 13 billion image pulls per month from Docker Hub, making it the world's largest registry on the internet, believe it or not. So here's a closer look at the Docker ecosystem. We have Docker Desktop, which is our single platform that contains all that you need to easily build, share, and run containerized apps on Windows and Mac, and coming very soon, Linux as well. And it handles the tedious and complex setup so that developers can focus really on their code. Now, Docker Desktop includes a number of things I want to highlight here. It includes a secure and optimized Linux VM that runs Linux tools and containers, bundled container tools, including Kubernetes, Docker Compose, Docker Build, and security scanning, a dashboard for visually managing all your container content and images, a simple one-click installer, as well as pre-configured best practices and security as well. Docker Hub is the world's largest repository and community for container images. So you can find a wide assortment of images built and shared by Docker's large community of developers, open source projects, and ISVs. We are continuously working to reduce that risk that developers use malicious images with bad code. And so to that end, we have curated images that have been validated and come from trusted sources. We have Docker official images, which includes essential base operating systems, programming languages, middleware, and databases that could serve as a starting point for many developers. We also have Docker verified publisher images, which are created with our partners to ensure the trust and security of popular apps and actively maintained images. Again, you can search, browse, and pull these images as you wish, all in Docker Hub. New to Docker Hub is the ability for admins to fully manage Docker users within their organization. So now admins can create audit trails, control image sharing, and restrict image access, all via a centralized management console in Hub. Again, Peter will be showing a demo of our image access management to give you a sense for how that all works. And Docker Business customers have access to all these tools I've mentioned, as well as our tight integrations to the major cloud providers, such as AWS, Azure, and Google, code repositories, such as GitHub, Bitbucket, and many more. So for nearly a decade, customers have been relying on Docker for major parts of their app dev journey, tooling, and infrastructure. Our mission here is really simple: to help developers ship more software and faster. So this fundamentally changes innovate and evolve, especially at a time when disruptions are rampant. So our customers have reported an increase in release frequency of up to 13 times what they had before. And they've also reported a 65% reduction in the time it takes to onboard developers. ING, for example, went from shipping once every 9 months to shipping a whopping 1,500 times a year with Docker. And Capital One, as another example, leveraged Docker to transform the way they use data to empower their data scientists and make better business decisions. So part of this modernized approach to building apps at scale is giving our users full freedom and flexibility. You can deploy on the cloud, on-prem, or hybrid, use Linux or Windows, or Docker native or third-party tools, build existing or greenfield apps. Docker works with really your entire existing ecosystem and process. No other containerization approach can truly say this. And when it comes to security, Docker containers are more secure than other approaches with arguably the smallest footprint for attack vendors out there. So we provide complete controls and guardrails, as well as auditing capabilities to help you maintain a more secure software supply chain. So some of the key challenges we've been hearing from our customers, especially in recent years, is how do I maintain a more secure software supply chain? And how do I manage my developer teams at scale at a time when my workforce is increasingly distributed and the demand for new apps is growing? So regarding the first challenge on the left, it's no surprise that software supply chain attacks are growing rampant. There's a recent headline that stated that supply chain attacks in 2021 alone grew a staggering 650%. So this is just the norm. When it comes to working with publicly distributed container images, organizations also run that risk of their developers pulling random images. And some of those images may not be regularly maintained. They may contain security vulnerabilities. They could also be non-compliant with internal policies. Now, the other big challenge organizations are faced with is managing their teams of hundreds to thousands of developers all working on their local machines. There's limited visibility or control over access to content or images, and there's no centralized way to manage users or even automate the process of onboarding or offboarding. There's also no centralized place to configure these policies. So we've launched Docker Business in August to help large organizations tackle these challenges. Also, while empowering their dev teams to continue building mission-critical apps at scale without compromising on security and compliance. So now let's get into Docker Business. So Docker Business includes all these great things you see here, including a centralized management console for visibility into what your devs are doing and when. And you'll also have complete access to the guardrails and controls to ensure that their work remains compliant with your internal policies. Content restriction and image access controls. I'll cover this in the next slide, but you'll also see a demo of this shortly. SAML-based single sign-on, which is one of the most in-demand features organizations are asking for in any sort of software offering. Docker Business customers will have the option to enable SSO to automate the onboarding and offboarding of Docker users. And remote management for Docker desktop instances that are installed locally within the organization provided hardware. In addition, there are other management and security features we're continuing to add for Docker Business customers, things like support for local registries, such as Artifactory, and other public registries, just ECR, versions and security vulnerabilities, even more visibility on developer behavior and content consumed, and much, much more. Now, Docker image access allows you to maintain security and compliance by controlling which containers and images developers within your organization can use. It also allows you to configure Docker Hub or Docker Hub organizations to only allow limited subsets of images by groups or namespaces. For example, you can limit developer access to only Docker official images or Docker verified publisher images. And again, Peter will provide more details on this during the demo. So in line with our new Docker Business updated licensing terms for Docker Desktop. We now require a paid subscription for commercial usage of Docker Desktop. This means that commercial organizations and enterprises with more than 250 employees or over 10 million in revenue have to sign up for one of our paid subscription tiers. Docker Desktop for personal and educational use will always remain free. So these new terms officially take into effect on January 31st, 2022, which is coming very soon. Now, let me quickly walk you through our new subscription tiers for those who are yet unfamiliar. Our personal tier is free. As I mentioned, it also includes the free version of Docker Desktop. It also includes unlimited public repos and a limited number of daily pulls from Docker Hub. The Pro tier is $5 per month on an annual plan and is designed for individual developers that want a private repo, the ability to use our auto-build feature, and vulnerability scanning. The Team tier is $7 per month on an annual plan and is designed for small teams of up to 6 to 12 developers, or what we call 2 pizza teams. This subscription includes things like role-based access control and audit logs. And then finally, the Docker Business tier starts at $21 per month on an image access management. The best part is you can get started on Docker Business or any of these subscription tiers really today. So we've recently enabled credit card purchasing of Docker Business, which gives you instant access to all these great features that you've just heard about without that added step of engaging with sales or going through an extensive PO process. So visit our pricing page. The link is right there below to learn more. Now, I want to shed some light on this debate on the Docker Desktop versus DIY, because you may be thinking to yourself, why go through a Docker subscription when I can just leverage the Docker engine, which is open source, and do things on my own? Well, there are a few things to consider, a few that I'll briefly highlight here. So we've built Docker Desktop to essentially take all the complicated and tedious things that make working and building with containers a really large effort. So that all the developers have to really worry about is their code and building and shipping apps. So it comes with tight integrations with Kubernetes runtime and K8's load balancer, meaning you can run K8 inside the VM and then locally in your machine, and you can have that load balancer that manages network traffic across the 2 isolated systems. We have Docker Compose integrated into the CLI. We have tight integrations with AWS ECS and Azure CLI. So you can deploy images from desktop or to either of those services. And we have a lightweight and secure VM that Docker completely manages and maintains so that you don't have to worry about it. This means that we can run the Docker engine inside either your Mac or Windows, wherever your developers prefer to work. We also handle all your security. We automate your security patches. Updates are really easy and seamless. We do vulnerability scanning, etc. And we have all the dev tools integrated, including Docker Engine, Kubernetes, CLI, builds, compose, etc. The best thing here is also our one-click installation, configuration, and maintenance updates, and the consistency between Mac and Windows users. Again, Docker Desktop has been designed with ease of use and agility in mind so that your dev teams can focus on what they do best. So as you can see, we have many, many more considerations listed here that I won't be able to go through line by line. But if you are interested in learning more, please do visit our Docker Desktop page via this link. We have this whole checklist set up so that you can check whether the DIY or our approach works best for your organization. And with that, I'll hand things over to Peter to talk a bit more about image access management.
Okay, thank you. Let me share my screen. Oh, can you stop sharing for a second, Kat? All right. Okay, here we go. So I want to take a moment to talk a little bit about image access management. So on my screen, I have docker.com. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. Choose my Captain X account. And at the top, you'll see Explore Repositories and Organizations. Let me go into the organization, and then I'm going to navigate. I only have one organization, and it's listed by namespace. So UAP1. So let me go into there. And at the top here, you can see the members, teams, repositories, activities, settings, and billing. What I'm really going to focus on today is settings. So let's go into settings. And then again, you have some links over here, tabs over to the left, but let's take a look at the org permissions. This is where you'll find image access management. So let's go ahead and enable that. So once I enable that, you can see all the restrictions were turned off or on, highlighted. So we're going to just start at the top, and I'll kind of walk down through these, explain what they are, and then show you how they work. So organizational images, these are the images that will always be allowed when you turn on image access management. So organization images are those images that live within your organization. They'll find them underneath your repository tab. These are the images that folks on your teams are building and pushing to Hub. The next we have is a Docker official images. If you want to learn more about Docker official images, you can click on this link into our docs. You can read all about it. But it's basically a lot of the essential base images. They follow all of our best practices. These are your Docker official images. So let's go ahead and turn those on. And let me jump over to the command line and let me show you how allowing these and restricting them works. So right now they're allowed. I'm going to go ahead and restrict it again for the demo. So let me jump over the command line. You can see that I don't have any images locally, nothing up my sleeve, and I am not logged in. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. So I'm going to use my Bonsai. So if we come over here to teams, actually, let me go to members. Here's the Bonsai. It has member permissions. You can see what teams they're in. So it's in sales dev. Let me come back over the settings in work permissions, but you can see organizationally wide, I'm restricting Docker official images. So this user should not be allowed to pull this image. So let me log in, get my super secret password. Okay. So now I'm just going to pull an official image. If we come over, let me go back into Hub. And let's look for Node. So you can see here in our search results, we have Node and it's labeled as official image. So let me click on that. And you'll see over here, there's the command to pull the image down. So this has over 1 billion pulls as our official image. So jumping back over to command line, since I copied that whole command line, I'll just plug it in. And there we go. I get pull access denied for Node. We just saw that I logged in. I have restricted access turned on for official images, so therefore I can't pull them. So if we simply go back into the UI here at Docker official images, let me turn that back on. So now it's allowed. And without logging out and logging back in, let's do a pull. And you can see that that's working. So let's clear that. So that's official images. So I'll leave those allowed. Docker verified publisher images. Again, let me click on the link here and come out and you can read all about our Docker verified publisher program. These images are created by partners of ours, and we verified that that is the actual person who created those images, and we put another label on them in Hub. So let's go ahead and look at those. So MySQL is one of my favorite databases. You can see here at the top, we have an official image, but I want to look at verified publishers. And since Circle CI is friends of the family, I love Circle CI. So let me look at verified publisher. You can see the blue check mark here. So we click on over. And again, I'm going to grab the pull command. And let's just double verify. Docker verified publisher images is restricted. So the same thing should occur. So if I run that command from Circle CI, of course, it's denied. Let me come back over and turn those back on. we are not restricted. We're able to pull that image simply. Let me stop that so we don't have to wait for it. But also I have some code here locally. It's just a simple application. So let me open that up in VS Code. Let's take a look at the Docker file. So you can see in this Docker file at the top, I'm using Node, which is the official image. So I want to demonstrate that not only just command pulls from the command line from the CLI, but also when you build, the build is integrated into these restrictions also. So I have my Docker file here. So I'm going to do a Docker build. Give it a -t and say node app. And I'm going to build it right here in this local directory. But let's jump over before hit enter there and take a look at Hub. Don't know where my Safari went. My apologies. I'm in Chrome. There we go. Okay. So let me turn these back off. So I'm going to restrict verified publisher images and official images. So now everything is restricted. So before we build it, let me show you the Docker file one more time. And there we go. Again, we're pulling from Node. That is the official image. So let's do a Docker build. -t node app. I'm going to build it here in my local directory. Oh, let me make sure. Okay. So let's do a Docker build, node app, local directory. Oh, my apologies. Docker images. We have to remove the image first. It's already local. Okay. So Docker images. It's been removed. Let's remove the node app. Okay. Docker images. Now we have no images locally. So now let's run our build, and this will attempt to pull everything down from there. And there we go. So access denied, we're not able to pull that image. Okay. So jumping back into Hub, we've talked about organization images. Those will always be allowed when image access management is turned on. Docker official images are restricted. These are images that are curated by Docker. Docker verified publisher, those are restricted right now. I'm going to go ahead and allow those and allow this. Now let's talk about community images. So community images are all the images that are public on Hub that are not official images and not verified publisher images and not organizational images. The rest of the images that are publicly accessible on Hub are considered community images. And those work just the same as official images and verified publisher images. If restricted is turned on, you won't be able to pull those. So if we look at search here, I'm going to search for me. I think I have a node image, my own node. So P. McKee, I am not logged in as Peter. P. McKee is not part of this organization. So let's copy that. And I'll come back into image access management, double check the setting, and it is restricted. Let's go back to our command line. And I'm going to go ahead and try and pull that community image. And just as we expected, we've been denied. So there you have it. Those are the permissions for image access management. It's part of our business solution, but let me kick it back over.
Thanks, Peter. I'll share my screen. It's really a conclusion, but so this concludes our webinar for today. If you want to learn more about Docker Business and its features and all the great things that you heard during this presentation, please do check out our website and download our solution brief. If you want to learn more about how Docker Business can work for with you and your organization, please contact your sales rep. And again, you are now able to get quickly started with our self-serve pay by credit card option. So, no excuse to get started with Docker Business right away. And so with that, we'll take some questions. I'll read some questions here, Peter, and let you know if there's some that you should answer, better position to answer than me. Let's see. So the first question here, can you elaborate more on how you audit current users for compliance after the January 31st deadline? So I can take that. So as I mentioned, there's a grace period of until January 31st for commercial users to switch to one of our paid subscription tiers. That doesn't mean that Docker Desktop will stop working by that date, but any unpaid commercial use of Docker Desktop by organizations with over 250 employees or over 10 million in annual revenue will be in violation of the Docker subscription service agreement. So our licensing is based on an honor system, and we will not be auditing users for this purpose, just so you know. Next question here, I guess this is kind of related. Can we evaluate Docker Business on a trial basis? So we do not offer free trials for Docker Business. However, we recommend starting with a small number of seats, which you can purchase online via credit card and get instant access to all of those great Docker Business exclusive features. And then you can scale up as you see fit and whenever you're ready. So I'm not a Docker user, but I do manage our software assets. Do I need a Docker seat to manage subscriptions for my organization? So you do not need a paid seat to manage subscriptions. You only need a paid seat if you will be using Docker Desktop commercially. However, you do need to set up a login for Docker Hub, which can be easily done for free. For paid licenses, how will the licensing process work on Mac OS when mass deploying Docker Desktop? Peter, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so we don't have, you don't have to put an input license into desktop. So when you start it up, add a license in there. So license management isn't an issue. You can manage users from the Hub UI, and they could just use their Docker ID to log in. You add them to the team, to your business account, and you can manage them that way. Yeah.
Perfect, thanks. Okay, what type of support do you offer for Docker Business? So all Docker subscribers, both free and paid, have access to community support in our community forums, community Slack, and Docker Docs. All Docker Pro, Team, and Business subscribers, so essentially all the paid subscribers, receive email support for their subscription. But for Docker Business subscribers who need it, we do offer a premium support program as an addition. And then does centralized user management include the activation and deactivation of users within the license? Can we do this on our own or in some sort of dashboard? Peter?
Yeah. So for Team and Docker Business, you can self-manage, add and remove users. In the future, for the business, we'll have SAML SSO integration, and you'll be able to manage users that way.
Perfect. So I think that's all the time we have for Q&A. But if you do have questions that were added to the chat, we can follow up with you at some point. Or again, feel free to download the resources you find on Docker Hub, and community as well. Thanks again for joining this webinar, and we hope to see you again soon. Bye all.